So happy to see everyone, many of you from around the world. The China U.S. Women's Foundation was founded 4 years ago to be a bridge between women in China and the U.S. and help women to thrive. We follow the SAGE initiative, which includes initiatives in social, medicine, arts, gender equality, and education. We're real believers that when women talk to each other, wonderful things happen that can improve their own lives, the lives of their families, and the world. So in that spirit, we are so pleased to be together with you. We hope you will become part of our community. We welcome your involvement. It is Earth Day today, and of course, that calls for a poem. So I would like to just read a short poem by Alice Moore Dunbar Nelson. She was born in 1875 of African-American heritage. She's a poet, essayist, and activist, and she wrote a sonnet about violets, which I thought you'd enjoy. I had no thought of violets of late, the wild, shy kind that spring beneath your feet in wistful April days, when lovers mate and wander through the fields in rapture sweet. The thoughts of violets meant florist shops and bows and pins and perfume papers fine, and garish lights and mincing little fops, and cabarets and songs and deadening wine. So far from sweet, real things my thoughts had strayed. I had forgot wide fields and clear brown streams, the perfect loveliness that God has made. Wild violets, shy and heaven mounting dreams. And now, unwittingly, you've made me dream of violets and my soul's forgotten gleam. The power of poetry and nature to transport us to our better selves. So that is our Earth Day greetings. With that, I'd like to now pass the festivities over to Lisa Faith Phillips, my dear friend and the Chief Digital Development Officer of the Women's Foundation.
Great. Thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you, Paula, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to see you and hear your words of wisdom. Paula is an Emmy-award winning producer, best-selling author, speaker, and media trainer and strategist. She coaches authors, experts, entrepreneurs, and anyone who's interested, I bet, to perform better on camera and produce their own videos. She's the founder of listproducer.com and the author of Listful Thinking, Using Lists to Be More Productive, Highly Successful, and Less Stressed. And then her latest book is a wonderful sort of how-to guide and journal, Listful Living, a list-making journey to a less stressed you. Paula is also a LinkedIn learning instructor of several courses, including Organizing Your Remote Office for Maximum Productivity and The Power of Lists to Get Things Done. At the end of our Q&A, we will have a raffle. I've actually cut out people's names and put them in a bowl. So we'll have a raffle and give away 5 books. It's a very fun book and very useful to really get into how to do it. But we'll start off with an interview and go for about 20 minutes, and then we'll open it for Q&A. So Paula, tell us about, you've done so much great work on, the problem of burnout, and we've seen the World Health Organization now officially recognizes burnout as a condition, and people are taking it very seriously. From your time as a senior health producer and now as a productivity author, what can women do to control burnout that really works?
Burnout is a real thing, and I think this pandemic has taught us all that, because just because you can work, you do work. And I think people are working, the statistics say 3 hours more per day than they were when they were in the office. So burnout is something that we have to be more cognizant of now than ever. But this is something that, to your point of me being a health producer for many years, I've covered stress and what it can do to your body, mind, soul. It has real repercussions. And to be able to first notice how stress is affecting you is one of the most important things that you can do to kind of get it under control. Because a lot of us, I won't name names, a lot of people become addicted to stress, become addicted to doing things and being important and thinking that, oh, if I'm really busy, if I'm doing a lot of things, that means that I'm important. It doesn't. It means that you're doing too much, right? So to be able to look at yourself, and that's part of the book Listful Living, is to really look at where you are right now with your stress and your productivity levels. So, I'd invite everybody to just think about a time from this week or this month or whatever, to say, when was I very stressed out and what caused that? What were the reasons for that? And then you can kind of reverse engineer it from there to say, hey, it doesn't always have to be this way. You can, sort of come through on the other end to be able to reduce some of that stress. But it's first identifying where it's coming from.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. You talk in your new book, Listful Living, about tapping into your own personal productivity style. What do you mean by that, and how do we figure that out?
I'm never going to tell you to become a morning person if you're not a morning person, because you will be cranky. And I know this because I have tried it. It does not work. And there's tons of productivity experts out there who say, CEOs get up at 4 a.m. and they're working out and they have their best ideas. Awesome. Good for them. I'm so glad that that works, but that's not what works for me. And it doesn't work for everybody. So for you to think through, when are you most productive in the day? For me, it's later in the day. Usually around like 2-3 o'clock is when I start to hit my stride. If I need to write something, if I need to be thinking through something really strategic, I'm better then than in the morning. In the morning, I like to set up my day kind of slow. I try not to have meetings, if I can help it, video meetings, before 11:30. And so in the morning, it's not that I sleep late. I just want to do what I want to do for myself. And I work for myself, so now I can do that. But I get up, I do yoga, I meditate, I read the newspaper, I catch up on my day. Like, that's what I like to do in the morning. So I feel like I've done something for me before then I jump into my day. I find the days that I just start working from the beginning, I can't stop working. It's just, you don't even eat breakfast. You don't even, so for me, I have to put that boundary and that separation there. But it's important for everyone to figure out their own productivity style. When do you like to work best? How can you set up your schedule to lean into that? And then also, what needs to be around you? Do you like to look at nature? Do you need, natural sunlight? Are you okay working by yourself? Do you want a collaborative work environment? For years, I worked in a busy newsroom with lots of people. And that became my norm of getting things done, draining out the noise to get things done. When I wrote my first book at home by myself, I couldn't write anything. I had to turn the TVs on and all, the radio and everything, because I was like, I need some kind of something going on here. I can't just be me sitting here by myself. And then, I've changed that through the years, but it's understanding, what do you need to work at your top potential.
Yeah, that is very helpful. I found it very helpful just reading your words that you set up times to have meetings. And because I think I felt the pressure when people would email me, I'd wake up and there'd be a message from someone at 6 a.m. I felt, oh, I have to respond. It's
Right.
like as if, you can't wait a minute before you respond to people. And so I thought that was very helpful to think about, when set up times when you're really going to respond, and let your clients or let people know.
Yeah, just pause. We're so apt to jump in, which is good. It's not a bad quality to jump in and want to do things. But then you do that, and then, the whole day gets derailed. So being able to, have a little bit of sort of discipline around it, to be able to say, okay, these are really the only blocks of time that I have available for meetings. And, I did that when I worked in corporate America, when I was a TV producer. Same thing. There were only certain days of the week that I had, calls and interviews, or I'd go out and I'd, do interviews in the field or whatever I was doing, because I had to block my time that way. Otherwise, my schedule was completely open to everybody at all times.
Mhm.
And as an entrepreneur, now working for myself, the first year of working, I opened my schedule up and was like, hey, anybody who wants to talk to me, let's talk. And I think I did 7 video calls. This was like 4 years ago. So I've been doing the Zoom calls for many, many years.
Mhm.
So I think I did 7 Zoom calls in one day, and I had to take a nap. I didn't know who I talked to about what happened, what was going on. And I said, you know what? I cannot operate that way. So I need to really have boundaries around. So now I do 3 calls, and those are my set calls for the day. And if they're taken, we've got to reschedule for a different day.
Smart. And you mentioned in your book about timing yourself doing tasks. Can you explain your thinking on that?
Yeah, most people don't think in seconds, but I want you to try, right? This is again from my days as a TV producer where I know exactly how long 30 seconds is. I know how long a minute is. This is just training that you get on that job. But it's so helpful for productivity because a lot of times, people will think, oh, it'll just take me 5 minutes to do this task. And then it takes you 50 minutes. And you're still sitting there doing this thing that you thought wasn't going to take that much time, but you weren't realistic. Or the opposite, right? It took you no time at all and you thought it was going to take you 2 hours. So to be able to have a better understanding of time and how much of it you can really, extend towards different tasks. I know it takes me 10 minutes. If I'm going to do my makeup real fast, it takes me 10 minutes to put my makeup on in the morning. And I know because I've timed myself. So I know, hey, if I have a call coming up, I only have 10 minutes. Like, this is what I'm going to do. If I have 12 minutes, I'm going to do this, or maybe I'll add a little mascara or whatever it is. But it is very, very helpful to be able to have that sort of idea of what you can actually get done in the time that you have.
And as a TV producer, you clearly had to meet deadlines many, many times a week, I'm sure. What recommendations do you have for people just to make their deadlines?
Yeah, daily deadlines, really, Yeah, I'm a big fan of deadlines. Even if you're faking it, and you put some deadlines in there that are actually not real. I do that all the time. And I'm very specific with the things that I want to get done. So yeah, I just did I have a live stream show called Inside Scoop that I do once a week. I just did it today. And I spoke to an expert about writing a book because so many times people say, oh, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And they put on their list, write book. You will never write a book in one day, right? Never. I don't care how fast you are of a writer. So to be able to take that apart and be able to say, okay, what are the pieces of this that I can do? And then put that on your list, have that one piece on your list. And then that way, you set yourself up for success because you've already sort of thought through and you're very, very deadline oriented to say, okay, well, I want to write, this one outline, or I want to write this one half of a chapter or whatever it is, so that you actually have the motivation to do that piece. Also with deadlines, you can have an accountability buddy, which is really helpful to be able to tell somebody else, hey, I really want to do this. I'm working actually on some fiction and I want to be done with it by my birthday, which is in August. So I have told my writing accountability buddy, who I meet with every Friday, I said, I'd really love to have a first draft done by my birthday. So now that I've said it, I have to make good on that. I have to, push myself to actually do the work and get it done. So that's helpful too, to be able to have other people you can, work off of to help you with your deadlines.
Do you have any favorite to-do list apps that you can share with us to help us all?
Sure. I like a little bit of everything. I like to write my lists by hand, but then I do like to have some digital apps as well when you're on the go or whatever it is. And I think of apps like I think of drawers. Where I keep different things in different drawers. I keep different lists in different apps. And that way I know what to find rather than having, one that does everything. And that's what I tried to do with Evernote. And I love Evernote. I think Evernote is great, but I started putting everything into Evernote and then I couldn't find anything. And then I didn't know where anything was. So instead, I like to keep Todoist is an app that you can use for to-do lists. So if I'm going to do a to-do list, it'll be in Todoist. If I'm going to do, let's say, keep a list of restaurants or keep a list of, whatever, Todoist, someone's seconds, Rachel says she likes Todoist. Yeah, it's super handy. But if I'm going to, put restaurants, I used to keep a list of restaurants in an app called Matchbook. They got rid of it. So now what I do is I keep it in my, in like my Google Maps. I have them all starred. I have little notes in there. And like, that's what I do. That's where I keep only restaurant recommendations. So to be able to think, segment where you put things is really helpful. There's another app that I like as well called Clear, and it's beautiful. It's very, very like no frills. It looks really nice. It's very colorful, but it only keeps lists. So in there, I'll keep like lists of things I need to get at Sephora, or if I need to go to the grocery store, or those types of lists, not to-do lists. And then I know where to find it.
Well, that's great. That's very helpful. Now, you have a different take in your book on self-care and mindfulness. Can you describe how women can help, and people in general, men as well, can help take better self-care?
Sure. Yeah. We get self-care really wrong. We think it needs to be a week-long vacation or a 2-hour massage, which is great. And you should do that if you can, but that is not the only way to help yourself feel better. It can be little things that you're doing throughout your day. There was a woman that I knew who, anytime someone would cancel a meeting with her during the day, she would take that time for herself as opposed to jumping in and doing more work. So she had a list of things that she really liked to do. Could be anything, reading a chapter of a book, calling your friend, going for a walk, going for a run, whatever you want to do, and fitting it into, these little micro moments of your day where you can recharge. So thinking through making that list, and it's one of the lists in the book too, to be able to say, okay, so what are the things that charge you up? What are the things that make you happy? Is it making tea? Is it watching a show? Is it whatever it is, and being able to fit that into your day? That's self-care. How you set up your schedule is self-care. I try not to schedule meetings on Mondays or on Fridays, because I want that time for me for creativity, so that I can say, hey, you know what, if I want to write, I write on Fridays. If I want to, do other stuff, I can do that on Mondays. And then I meet with people and I do things Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But that's a kindness that I do for myself, because I feel more in control that way. And it's nice to be able to recharge at the beginning of my day, of my week, and then also at the end.
That sounds like very good advice. Here you do so much great work and about working at home and the productivity of home versus our old office life. What's the biggest productivity mistake people make working from home, do you think?
People treat it like a snow day in New York, where, it's like now it's a little bit different because we've been doing it for a long time. But like, oh, working from home, great. I'm going to work in my PJs and I'm not going to put on makeup and I'm just going to like do what I got to do. And it does not set you up for success, because then you don't feel fully ready for your day. And I always tell people, show up like you were going to show up in an office. I don't wear shoes. I will tell you that. I have my slippers on. I've been wearing my slippers, for a very long time here during this pandemic at home. But I get dressed every day as if I'm going to actually meet people, because I do. They're just virtual people. And that for me was really helpful, to be able to show up and feel really accomplished even first thing in the morning.
That's a good idea. Now, in your wonderful LinkedIn learning course, Organizing Your Remote Office for Maximum Productivity, what has resonated most with people?
It is the usage of space, to be able to say, a lot of people in the beginning of the pandemic, they plopped themselves down in the kitchen table because that's the space that they had. And so they've worked there and consistently. But in the course, I talk about how you can actually choose your space depending on what you're doing most. So the same way that we talked about, the productivity style and how you work best, it's the same thing with the remote office and setting it up, thinking through, okay, what do you do most of your day? What do you need to do that really, really well? So for instance, for me, I'm on video calls a lot. I'm training people on how to look good on video. So lighting is really important to me. So when I came into this, room, I said, all right, where am I going to put my desk? And the desk is literally right in front of a window, because I have great light through that window. You want to put a really good light source right in front of you. So I use that window to its full advantage. So for me, it's like, okay, this is where I'm going to set up this desk, because I know for my work, that's one of the most important things. For your work, it might be something completely different. Maybe you need super quiet, or you like a dark area, or whatever it is. But you can really design it however you want. And not to say that just because you have a small space, you can't do it. I mean, usually I'm in New York City, and I built an office in my closet. So it is called a smoffice, my small office. If you take the class on LinkedIn, you'll see it. I shot a video of it, and it works, because I can close the door. I can put my stuff away and I can close the door. So that's really important too, is to have a close down strategy for your office, because we're working from home and we can continue to work forever into the evening. It's really important to have that strategy where it's like, okay, this is what I do at the very end of my day. For me, it's to make a to-do list for the following day. And I have done this, since I was a TV producer. It was the last task I did before I left my desk. It's the same thing now. I go through, what do I have the time and the resources to do tomorrow? Put it on the list, look at all the stuff I need to do. Great. Okay, done. Close the laptop. I'm done for the day. That's like my signal that it's no more work.
That sounds smart. Now, what do you recommend equipment-wise for home meetings? Are there things you recommend we could get to be better at it?
Sure. An external camera is always a good choice. I use one here. My computer, I love it. It's a MacBook. It's a great computer, but the webcam is not great. It looks grainy and, it doesn't look as good. I have a microphone. Obviously, I do a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of media and video and things like that. It makes your sound better. The quality is better. Also noise canceling headphones. If you're in a busy place, I used to do that all the time when I worked in a newsroom, have those headphones on. And even here, if there's landscapers going on now, during the day, it's like you need to drown that out. So thinking through, okay, I need some headphones to be able to get work done is really important. So those are the things that I would say, are really helpful. People talk a lot about, oh, do I need a green screen? Do I need this? No, you can make your backdrop work for you. Green screens are great if you have the space for it. And if you really do want to use a virtual background. But the thing is, like, we all know you're in your house, like at this point, like.
We know you're not on the beach.
Yes, exactly.
Well, what do you think the biggest mistakes people make with video meetings are?
Yeah, I mean, they do treat them now, like audio sometimes. People don't connect with the camera. It's awkward. I get it. To talk to a camera like it's a person isn't the thing that everybody wants to do, because it's strange. Like right now, I'm looking directly at the camera because I know the connection is going to be better with you. You're going to think I'm looking at you. If I'm looking down the whole time where I'm really seeing your faces, we lose that connection. That eye contact is lost. And so that way, we don't have it as much of a rapport. You want to make this as real as you possibly can. And one way is to do that, is to connect with the camera. It takes work, but it's definitely worth trying to do.
That's good to know. My last question before we open it up is, what recommendations do you have for people who have to, have work and home life, and both are demanding? What recommendations to make that the best possible combination?
Yeah, it is really planning it out and looking and seeing, what has to happen tomorrow and what is it that I can do and where can I outsource or use help? Is there someone in your home that you could, ask for help from? I have a lot of friends who have kids, and that's an issue with homeschool and this, and, maybe there's two parents who are working from home as well, but being able to be really open with communication and saying, like, hey, I have meetings at this time and this time. Could you do this and this? Over communication is not a bad thing. There's a woman that I know too who has small kids, and she puts a little dry erase board outside of her office door with her door closed. And she puts when her meetings are, so that they know when there's no meetings going on, you can bust through the door as much as you'd like. But during the meetings, it'd be better if you didn't, so that way, that's her boundary setting, and it's worked so far.
Well, that sounds very good. So let's open it up to the audience. Since we don't have a large group, feel free just to start asking a question, or you can, of course, raise your hand in the reactions if you'd like. Here's Sam's going to ask a question. Yes, Sam.
So I'm sure most of this is in your book, but I'd love to hear a little bit about the systems that you have. Because that for me is always the hardest part. It's not making the list. It's when I look at the list and reminding myself to look at the list or add to the list or update or share. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. I am a big fan of daily lists. So I make that list the last thing I do at my desk. And it only has the things that I have the time and the resources to do. So this is not a bucket list. This is not I wish I could do that. It'd be so great if I could list. It is literally, I know I can do these things. So also looking at, if it is a larger task, what piece of it can you do? Can you check in on somebody on your team who's doing another part of it, or, whatever, to be realistic about it? I even sometimes go a step further to do a before lunch list and an after lunch list, because that for me is where I know, okay, this is when I'm going to be better at doing this, or it's a deadline thing. Somebody needs it before lunch, so that I have it mapped out and I know what's happening there. The other thing is to put things on the list that you can get done a lot of the time, is important, because a lot of times we put things on those lists and then we feel so terrible at the end of the day that we didn't get it all done. And there's a woman who I interviewed in both books. Her name is Heidi Hanna, and she actually has a whole bunch of courses on LinkedIn Learning as well. She's a stress expert, and she makes a just enough list. So the just enough list is, 3 to 5 things that you really prioritize. And you say, okay, these are the things that if I'm able to do just these things, I'll be happy. My clients will be happy, or my customers, or whoever, my family will be happy. Everybody will be, thrilled with me if these things can get done. And then she has a separate side list that if she gets that done, maybe she'll tackle some of those other things. So it's important to also know, how long is it going to take you to do those things, to be realistic with the list.
Sounds like great advice. Is any other questions? Karen Ning, I see your hand up. Hi, Karen.
There you are. Hello. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, Karen, you're muted still. I know it's always that tricky. There we go.
So can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mingy, for inviting me again. I always enjoyed your the seminars, the presentations that your association put up. Paula, just very enjoyable to listen to you. Just have a quick question. You are successful in your career as a TV producer, and then now you convert to like several different roles.
Yes.
Coach, author, you do podcasts. So can you give all of us some advice, like what makes you make the change in your career? And now you are like on the trend. I meant like you use your talent to all different career paths. So can you give us some like sharing about like how you make the change?
Yeah, of course. And it's one of those things where I've always liked to do a lot of things, but I never, until someone asks you, what do you do, that you have a laundry list of them. And it's like, wow, that's a lot of things, but there's a letter in the book in Listful Living that I share that I had written to myself one day. I was a TV producer, in New York City. And I remember going out for lunch and sitting out in a park and thinking, if I am at this job in a year, I just don't know what I'm going to do. And it's not that I hated the job. I loved it. I worked at that particular company for 10 years. It was terrific, but I was just done with it. It was holding me back. I could tell that I couldn't get to the next level with my books or whatever it is that I, wanted to do in my speaking and all of that if I were to stay at that job. So I went back to my desk and I wrote myself this letter on email. And I said, this is how you feel today. You feel drained, you feel upset, you feel like you're wasting time, you feel like you're meant for more, and you feel like you're, not doing what you could be doing. You did a great job at this job for a long time. You were successful. It was great. It's time to move on. And I set that email to send to me in a year, because you can do that on Gmail. And I totally forgot about it. I got over myself. I went home. It was fine. And then a year later, I got the email totally out of the blue. I had forgotten that I did it. And I had given my notice and I was on the way, I was about to leave. And it was so like reaffirming to hear from myself that I was making the right move, because you forget how you feel in that moment. You forget when you're most frustrated, you make excuses for it and you're like, it's fine, I'll be okay. And when you're looking to leave, a corporate job, I've only worked corporate jobs with full-time benefits and all the things that you get, your 401k and all that. I was stepping out into uncharted territory to start my own business and do my own thing. It's pretty scary. but having that reassurance of that, oh, you're doing it for the right reasons. This is actually a really good plan. So I do invite people in the book, and even now, any of you who want to write an email to yourself, for a year from now about where you'd like to be, what you'd like to be doing. So you can kind of check in with yourself.
And am I right in remembering you started your list producer blog while you were still at your old job?
Yes, exactly. I started it 10 years ago, listproducer.com. And I got very good advice from a friend of mine who was an author. And I had said to her, I think I'm going to write a book about lists. And she was like, no, don't write a book about lists. Start a blog, write 50 blog posts. And if you're still interested, and if other people are interested, then you write the book. And I was like, and I met her actually through Women's Media Group, Lisa. And I was like, great advice. And it was the best advice ever. And now here I am, 10 years later, still going on and on about lists, 2 books later. So it really is, the right move for me there. But at work, I always had, a little bit of like, what's the project for me? What is it that I want to do outside of what I'm doing?
Exciting. Well, and now you're writing fiction. That'll be exciting to see.
There will be lists in the fiction book too, of course.
Do we have another question from our friends who've joined us? Oh, here, Susan.
Hi, I have a question. Question about Zoom fatigue. And I know you talked about containing your Zoom meetings to 3 per day, and I totally get that. But I work for a not-for-profit organization that is highly collaborative, and everything is, everything is a meeting. and so even though I try really hard to block out big chunks of time so I can actually work, people don't like that because I'm too unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to, kind of straddle the line between making myself available and having enough time to do work. And by the end of the day, I'm cooked. I'm so done.
Yes.
And just wondering if you could speak to that, if you have any tricks.
Yeah, Sam has a great trick, and it's actually one of my tricks too, Sam. Good call on that. So one thing for Zoom fatigue is to turn off self-view on Zoom.
Yeah.
So you can, for anyone who hasn't done it, if you hover over your face, you'll see the mute, and then to the right is the 3 little dots. If you click that little 3 dots, then you go down to the very bottom. It says hide self-view. So if you do that, you're hidden. So now you can't see yourself, which is part of the Zoom fatigue, because we're looking at ourselves. We're like, is my hair okay? Maybe do I look all right like this? There was actually a story that came out last week about people who are now getting plastic surgery because they do not like how they look on Zoom. So this is a real thing. So that's number 1, hide yourself. And it actually takes it. It's not about you anymore, right? It's about the people that you're with. So it's helpful. Limiting the time, obviously, if you can do that, but also I would push back to say, does this need to be an hour-long meeting? Could this be a 15-minute meeting? I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk. He is sort of a crazy, I don't know, social media guru. I don't know, what would you even call him now at this point?
And advertising has a whole advertising company.
Yeah, advertising firm and whatever. I interviewed Gary probably 10 years ago when he was a wine expert. That's what he did. He was a wine guy. And I interviewed him about the health benefits of wine. And he was a firecracker then. And now he's exploded in the social media world. And one of the things that he often does with his team is that he has 7-minute meetings. So you need to show up prepared. There's no chit chat for that meeting. It is very, very clear what the deliverable is for that meeting. So you show up, you say what you got to say. All right, what's our marching orders? Okay, goodbye. Now, maybe 7 is a little short for people, but could you do 15? Could you do a half hour? Does it need to be an hour? Because you're going to fill the time that you're given. It's human nature. You're just going to do it. So to be able to number 1, shorten those meetings, and number 2, laser focus them. We're only talking about this. And to be able to have people on board on your team to be able to facilitate that, right? Because you don't want one person who's going off about this other thing that we're doing. You want them on board to say, hey, this meeting is only for this. So to make that intention in the beginning of the meeting and say, we will have a separate meeting about X at a separate point, but this meeting is about this, so that we can keep it very clear and crystal. I think that would be helpful too, depending on who you're working with.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, of
I
course.
see Elman has his hand up. Elman, would you like to ask a question? You're muted.
Sure, of course. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, hi, one more time, everyone, and Paula. My yeah. Well, I wanted to ask about probably it's one of those topics that I'm sure that you have lots of let's say research about the prioritization, like how to prioritize. And
Yeah.
then once you do so, we have cell phones, we have emails. Once they, like this dopamine spike comes up when there is this notification, something
Yeah.
new comes up, how to stick to that? Because I work with a job that is like constantly new things are coming in, and
Yeah.
then it really blows my mind off. I just, like throw everything away and go to that new thing, almost as if it is the most important thing of my life, but it's not. It's just
Right.
another email. So how do you stick to that? What is the trick in there?
Yeah, exactly. It is sort of tricking yourself a little bit to pause. So I, I back when people used to call people on the phone, which like never happens anymore, but I would never answer my phone because I knew that I would then be doing the thing that the person on the phone wants me to do, as opposed to what it is that I'm doing right now and what I should be doing. And looking at my list as my roadmap and my intention set for the day, whatever's going on with that person, unless it's your boss, and of course, then you have to answer it or whatever, is probably outside of what you're doing here. So to be able to pause and not answer that email right away and not go do that thing, it's a practice. It's something that you have to, it's a muscle that you really need to work out, to not react right away. Turning off notifications is helpful. Some people have specific times that they look at email. I don't do that. I look at email all day, every day. But I do have buckets that I use for email. So I have different folders so that I know in a glance what I'm going to do with that email. So if I get an email that I have to reply to, I put it in the reply bucket. If I have something that I have to actually read, I put it in like the review thing. So then I feel like I've done something with it, but I didn't have to actually do the thing. And then I have to schedule time to then go and reply. Because if I reply right then I'm doing something different. And then I've just forgotten where I was. Another thing that I do is I create what I call a distraction placeholder. So when I am distracted, I pause before I let myself go down the rabbit hole of being distracted. And then I write down on my list, lower left-hand corner of my list, that's where it goes always, what I was in the middle of doing. So very specifically, writing email to Lisa. Okay, then I can get distracted. Then I can go deal with that thing. And then when I come back, I can look and say, oh, what was I in the middle of? Oh, actually, I know because I wrote it down, because I have it captured here. Because it takes 23 minutes for you to get re-engaged in a task after you've been distracted. So this cuts down on the time. I wish I had the exact amount of time that you get back by doing this, but it's really helpful because it also it makes you pause to write it down and trains you to not get distracted so, instantly.
Very helpful. Good. Do we have any other questions?
I have one, Paul. This is
Oh,
Tracy.
sure, Tracy. Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And I've taken a couple of Paula's classes and read her books, so and have put many of this to great use. So thank you, as always.
Fantastic.
I have a question just on your thoughts about just this last year with all of us being, or many of us being more at home than we ever have been. Are there any good kind of, and it's tiring, right? And we want to get out and all of that. Are there any good kernels of productivity that you have realized yourself, or that you have ideas for us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things is to think about what's changed in your life since the pandemic started. What have you gained? So many of us think about what I've lost and what I'm not able to do. And I don't see my coworkers, and I lost my commute, and I lost my this, and I lost my, but what did you get? Do you now get to have, lunch with your spouse, or, things that you would never do, or, you get to go for a walk at 4 o'clock because you know what? I can do whatever I want at 4 o'clock, whatever it is. So make that list, because that for me has been really telling of what you want to keep in your life once the world does reopen. Because we're at a point now where we're in this hybrid world, right? Some people are going to be going back in the office. Some people are going to be, you know, it's the newest LinkedIn learning course that I have all about hybrid working and how you do it and how you're productive and all that. It's important. But one of the most important points is, what do you want? What worked for you? You know, what is it that now I don't want to give that up? You know, I don't want to not do this thing. You know, for me, that's been like walking, being out in nature. You know, it is Earth Day, right? So to bring it back to the beginning of that beautiful poem, it's super nerdy, but like I became a bird watcher during this entire like pandemic. I love watching birds. My husband thinks I'm insane, but like I find such joy in it that I find little moments of time in the day to say, you know what, I'm going to go out and watch some birds. I'm going to go see what the animals are up to or whatever it is. I love that I wouldn't trade that. And it actually makes you much more productive. If you're out in nature for at least 5 minutes, it actually boosts your productivity.
Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, I think we should pause here and do our little raffle.
Yes.
So 5 of you get to win this fabulous book, and it's really helpful. It has wonderful information, but then it also talks you through how to keep a journal and answer questions that really get you thinking. So here, I did put everybody's name in who signed up. So if I get someone's name who isn't actually here, I'll move to the next one.
Yes.
And then we'll get your address and send you the book. So starting off, I've got here Victoria Jameson.
Ooh.
Victoria Jameson, I will be sending you this book. And Victoria, I have your email, Vicki, and I'll follow up and send that to you. Let's see here. We've got Tracy Klein. Tracy Klein. If you don't have this book, we'll send it to you, or you can always give it to someone else. So Tracy,
a gift.
You are the second winner.
Yay, thank you.
And let's see here. I can put down the bowl. Hannah Wu. Hannah Wu, I see you're here.
Oh, yes.
So that's great. I'm having luck finding Hannah Wu. Will send you a copy of this wonderful book.
Wow, that's awesome.
I don't think Julie's here, so she doesn't get to win a prize.
You snooze, you lose.
Snooze, you lose. Megan Anise. Oh, Megan's here. So Megan, we will be sending you this book. So I'll follow up with your email.
Nice.
Exciting. And so just one more. It's so fun to have a raffle, like as if we're live. Mariah Bonner. Oh, I see Mariah didn't get to make it. I know she wanted to come, so we'll wait on that and find someone. Karen Ying. So Karen,
Nice.
we'll be sending you a copy of the book. Great. Well, thank you all so much. Any other questions before we wrap up?
Thank you.
Yay. I'm so happy for you guys.
Exciting. And then next Thursday, we do this now. We'll be doing the next 2 Thursdays. Next Thursday at 4:00 is Isaac Stone Fish, who's an expert on China-U.S. relations, and he'll be speaking about the change in China-U.S. relations expected under Biden. So a bit of a change, a different topic. And then the following Thursday on May 6th, we'll have Judith Mock, who's a classical singer and writer, who will be speaking to us from Dublin about the lockdown there and how she gave free concerts on the balcony, and the city awarded her a city prize. So it'll be exciting next couple of things. But Paula, so wonderful to have you.
Thank you for having
and
me.
Can everyone find all your information at listproducer.com?
Yeah, listproducer.com or paularizzo.com. Either one of those is terrific. And, thank you for being here. I'm excited for the people who won the book. That's awesome. And for those of you, if you've gotten any value out of it, I ask that you share it, share with people, share the list love, whether you buy a book through Amazon or your favorite local bookseller, because we want to help all of these small businesses who have been, brought down by the pandemic. Let's bring them back, and the libraries too, to be able to help them kind of get back on their feet. I would be so appreciative, and you would be top of my list for sure.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for coming. And Leslie, do you want to say anything as a final?
I just want to thank Paula and Lisa, really, it's been a wonderful time together. Paula, thank you for sharing your insights, very valuable. I hope you will continue to, give us information, come back in 6 months. This is a re-emerging, we're kind of nearing hopefully the end of the pandemic, but we have to kind of reimagine the future. And you seem to be the master of lists. So I'm sure you can share your wisdom. Look forward to continuing together.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you everyone for coming. Great to see everyone.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank
Okay,
you,
bye-bye.
Paula.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.